Hello everybody, welcome to the Dollar Store Commander channel. My name is Nicholas and today we're going to be doing another budget deck tech. Today our budget deck tech is on Kibo, Uktabi Prince. If you've never seen Kibo, he is a monkey noble for 2 and a green. As a tap ability, each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana with tap sacrifice this artifact at a red or a green. You gain 2 life. He also has whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's an ape or a monkey. And whenever Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. So the whole point of this deck is that we're trying to fill in our board full of monkeys and apes and giving our opponents any type of artifact like treasure tokens or bananas, whatever they have. And whenever they sacrifice them or whenever we destroy them, we'll be able to put a number of +1/+1 counter on it on each of our creatures that's an ape or a monkey. So we'll be able to swing in for a lot of damage. We're going to speed the game up, try to be friends to everyone by giving them a lot of mana that they can use, and be able to smash face, because that's what we do in Gruul. So we're going to first go on. We have Rising of the Day. Rising of the Day is an enchantment. Creature control have haste. Legendary creatures control get +1/+0. The only thing about this is that we're just going to be trying to make it to where we can use Kibo's ability as soon as possible. We also have Hardened Scales, an enchantment for 1 green. If one or more +1/+1 counters are put onto a creature you control, that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. So this is going to be help to just double out however many counters we put on our creatures. We're then going to scroll on past the creatures. A lot of these are just creatures that don't have any real use other than just being an ape or a monkey. Some are changelings, but they don't have any effects that we can help utilize for our game plan. The most prominent keyword that you'll find is trample. If something does not already have trample, we will have ways of being able to provide them with trample. So we're going to just go on past and go to our draw engines. We have Beast Whisperer. This is going to be like our budget version of Guardian Project. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. We also have Colossal Majesty, an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. We're almost never a time we're not going to have a creature with power 4 or greater unless someone's already board wiped. We then have Garruk's Uprising, another enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, we draw a card. But the most important thing about this card is it gives our creatures trample. That's going to help with us swing out for a lot of massive damage, making sure it gets through. We have just Harmonize, Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature card with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible. It protects our creatures, draws us cards. Always great. We have Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Artifact at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay a green. If you do, draw a card. Next, we have his Realm Walker. This will be able to let us cast creature spells from the top of our deck. We do run more apes than monkeys, so whenever this enters the battlefield, make sure you say apes. That way you have a greater chance of casting things from the top of our library. It's situational, but you can always still at least have some opportunities to be able to cast something. We then have Return of the Wild Speaker. At instant speed, draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. It also has a pump effect where our commander is already able to provide that pump effect, so we won't have to utilize that too often unless we're trying to finish out the game. We then have Risk Card's Expertise. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Then you can also cast a spell mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. We have Shamanic Revelations. Draw a card for each creature you control. We're not going to be spamming out too many creatures, but we should have at least enough on the field to where we can replenish our hands if we need to. The most important card in this deck when it comes to our draw engines is Viridian Revel. It's an enchantment for 1/2 green. When an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may draw a card. So we're going to be distributing a lot of treasure tokens, a lot of bananas. Whenever our opponents crack them, we're going to be getting the +1/+1, and we'll be able to draw a card. Fantastic. For our finisher, we have Overrun. For our protection suite, we have Swift Foot Boots. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. That's always going to be really pretty relevant. We want to use Kibo's ability as soon as we can and be able to protect it. For our ramp package, I'm not going to go through each one individually that much, but I'll go through the ones that are the most important. First off, we have Curse of Opulence, an enchantment or a curse for 1 red. Enchant player. Whenever enchant player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So we're going to be incentivizing our opponents to attack a single big threat, and then being able to profit off whenever they use the gold that we give them. Then we have my favorite card in this deck, Descent into Avernus, enchantment for 2 in a red. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and Descent into Avernus deals damage to each player, where X is the number of descent counters on Descent into Avernus. But this is going to be able to speed up the game. Everyone gets mana for it. Everyone be taking damage, bringing the life totals down closer, so that way we can swing in for a much bigger swing. We then have Liquid Metal Torque. That's a mana rock that has target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. So with our commander, he has an attack ability that makes to where our opponents sacrifice an artifact they control. If someone doesn't already have a banana or a treasure token, we can turn one of their non-artifact permanents into one, making them sacrifice. That can be their commander, anything like a troublesome creature, enchantment, anything like that. We then have Pain Distributor. Pain Distributor is a Devil Citizen for 2 in a red with Menace. Whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, they create a treasure token. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, Pain Distributor deals 1 damage to that player. So again, we're going to be giving out more treasure tokens for them to sacrifice. And when they sacrifice them, we're going to be pinning them for damage each time, bringing their life totals down a lot closer. We also have a couple of 1 mana ramp spells. These are really going to be important. This will help us get Kibo out a turn sooner. Rather than turn 3, we'll be able to get him out on turn 2. For our removal suite, we have a lot of ways of interacting and destroying a lot of the artifacts that we are going to be distributing to our opponents. So we have Anzrag's Rampage, a sorcery, destroy all artifacts you don't control. Then exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artifacts that were put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn. You may put a creature card exiled this way onto the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of your upkeep. So we're going to be able to massively destroy all the artifacts that we've given to our opponents and be able to put something from the top of our library that's a creature onto the battlefield. A lot of our creatures that are apes have ways of destroying artifacts. One key one is Gorilla Shaman. An ape shaman has an activated ability for 2x and 1 generic destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X. We can just pump mana each time, destroying any target artifact that just costs 0 mana, destroying it for 1. So that's always going to be great. We also have Liquid Metal Coating. It's similar, the original version of Liquid Metal Torque. Couldn't remember the name. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. So just another way to get rid of any troublesome permanent and being able to turn into an artifact and make our opponents sacrifice it or destroy it by other means. So again, these are all the ways that we're going to have to destroy a lot of the treasures and bananas that we give our opponents. Next up we have is our untap effects. These are going to be ways that we can just use Kibo's untap ability to generate banana tokens to give to our opponents multiple times. First one is Instill Energy. Its ability doesn't read off exactly how it says on this text, but how it works is you enchant target creature. It has haste, and when you can pay 0 mana into it and be able to untap Kibo only during your turn, and only once during that turn. So you can do it 2 times during your turn, but only during your turn. The main card that we're going to be looking for in order to untap Kibo is using Sting, the Glinting Dagger. Sting is a legendary artifact for 2 mana and equipped for 2. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. At the beginning of each combat, untap equipped creature. The rest of the keyword doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's going to get haste and that you can untap it during each combat on each player's turn. So that's been the deck so far. We're going to go ahead and move on to the cards that you can put into this deck to increase it from its $60 price point up to $100. Just to let you know ahead of time, this deck, at the start of this recording, all the prices listed were from TCG Player at their cheapest pricings. The cheapest this deck could get down to and still manage to work was on $61 and some change. If you're not including the basic lands, your deck will probably be around just $60 and some change. So just keep that in mind. I wanted to make sure that this deck functioned right out of the gate and we're not lacking anything at the cheapest price point we could get to. But if you want to upgrade this deck, you can include these 5 cards. We have Generous Plunderer. Generous Plunderer is a human rogue for 1 in a red. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a treasure token. When you do, target opponent creates a tapped treasure token. When Generous Plunderer attacks, if it deals damage to defending player equal to the number of artifacts they control. So let's say someone's not banking, like they're not using all the treasure tokens, all the banana tokens. They're just letting it sit there before we can even get to it, get to destroying them, and they just have it all sitting right there, probably waiting for a big turn. We can punish them by swinging in with Generous Plunderer, make them take a lot of damage no matter what. We then have Heroic Intervention, an instant for 1 in the green. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until another turn. This is really key. This is another great way of just protecting all your stuff. We have Lightning Greaves. Lightning Greaves is an equipment for 2. Equip cost is 0. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Just fantastic. We then have 1,000-Year Elixir. 1,000-Year Elixir is an artifact. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though they have haste, and it has pay 1, tap, and untap target creature. This is going to be another way to give Kibo haste and be able to use that ability over again. For our last upgrade, we have Well Rested. Well Rested, I wanted to include, but the deck itself was already well above the budget, so we just decided to include it for the upgrades. Well Rested is an aura enchantment for 1 in the green. Enchant creature has whenever this creature becomes untapped, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Then you gain 2 life and draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So normally I would tell you what cards you can go ahead and cut to include these upgrades. I have a couple ideas of what you can go ahead and cut, but this deck was really well balanced right off the bat. So it made it to where finding areas to cut were a little bit trickier than most. If you wanted to cut if you want to add the Generous Plunderer, you can go ahead and take out one of the creatures in the mana, like one of the creatures that we have here that did not have any abilities that really mattered. The Bander was one. The Cat Monkey was one I thought of cutting. It didn't have anything other than providing counters. It wasn't too important. I didn't want to cut too many creatures that were already matching that type. If you did decide to cut more creatures, cut anything that would be a monkey. The monkeys are least relevant than the apes. Not too many of the monkeys have abilities that we can use, and it's already, I think it was 5 of them were monkeys that in the creatures, and the rest were all apes. So if you decide to cut any of the creatures, look closely at any of the monkeys that just have not so relevant abilities. So if you wanted to include the Heroic Intervention, the first thing I thought of there was a Braid. A Braid is able to destroy one of our artifacts, but we have so many ways of doing that already. It has the same mana cost other than just requiring a green pip, and it's more important to go ahead and protect our creatures than have so many ways of removing artifacts, which is what our whole deck is based around, and so we have multiple ways of doing so. So then, for the Lightning Greaves, I thought of you can probably go ahead and either cut a mountain. I normally don't like saying cut any of the lands, but we have so many ways of generating tokens for us already, especially in the command zone. Or you can cut the Cindering Eruption. I would probably say to cut out the mountain, because the Cindering Eruption is one way of finishing off anybody at the table. It will destroy any troublesome land an opponent has. That's probably like Rogue's Passage. There's a land that makes it where you can prevent combat damage from a single creature. Can't remember off the top of my head. But the main thing about it is creatures without flying can't block this turn. So if we're not playing against anything that's like fairies, dragons, angels, we'll be able to just swing in and probably finish them. I'll probably finish them off. I do apologize for my mood at the moment, or me not be able to do out this video properly. I'm a little tired. try to get everything out as fast as I can. We then have 1,000-year elixir. 1,000-year elixir. We can trade this out for Rising of the Day. It has the same mana value of 3. It's more important to just give Kibo the ability to have haste rather than the rest of our creatures, because we just want to be able to use Kibo's ability as soon as he comes out, and we'll be able to untap it. So this will be a much better include than the Rising of the Day. And then lastly, for the Well-Rested, like I said, it was really hard to find stuff to, like anything to cut that just didn't make one category like weaker than the others. So the only thing I could think of was the Colossal Magistry. So now that we've gone through the deck, I want to go ahead and show all of you how well the deck can play as is. So that's what we're about to go ahead and do. We're going to go to the play tester, just see how well this deck can play. So let's see, our opening hand: Mountain, Ancient Silverback, Temple of Abandon, Rampant Growth, Keswick Wolf Run, Kogla, and Sunring Eruption. This is a pretty good hand, so we'll keep this. I'm going to go ahead and draw for turn. We'll play the Temple of Abandon so we can get the Scry. Simian, Simulacrum, that's fine. Wouldn't mind more creatures. We're going to go untap, upkeep, draw. Play the Mountain for turn. We'll do the Rampant Growth. Going to go ahead and search our library. Grab the Forest. Play that tapped. Shuffle the library. So I don't know how to do the next turn on an Arca deck on the PC. I only know how to do that on my phone. So I do know how to at least untap and upkeep and draw the card. So play the Keswick Wolf Run. I don't have anything I can just go ahead and play other than my commander. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Pass the turn. So we're on turn 3. Our commander with open mana. So untap, upkeep, draw. We'll play the Game Trail. It's going to have to come in tapped. Let's see. I believe it'd probably be best to go ahead and... We haven't been able to use our ability yet, our commander's tap ability yet. So rather than playing the Viridian Revel, because we're going to be doing it typically on the players that comes right before us, we're going to be doing it on their end step. So we can just play the Simian Simulacrum. He'll come in with 2 counters on him already, making him a 4/3. So, like I said, at the player's end step before us, we would tap Kibo, make a banana. We're going to have to use a treasure token here because we don't have banana tokens for whatever reason yet. Go to untap, upkeep, draw, play the Forest. I think now we can get away with the Viridian Revel. And then we'll just pass the turn. At this point, it's a little tricky to determine how well we're doing because this deck requires having players use whatever resource we give them. But so far, it felt pretty good. We were able to do almost almost something on each of our turns. So let's go ahead and we're going to try a new game. Yes. Okay, so now we have ramp. We have something we can do. This is definitely a keep. So we'll draw for turn. Let's see. Play the Forest. And then we'll draw, pass. Play Mountain. It's so tempting to just get the Sting out, but because I want to try to give it haste and be able to do it on each turn. So it's either, I think we just go ahead and do that. I don't know if it's too much. What's be the best play? I think it'll be fine getting. I think we'll do the Arcane Signet. And then, because when Kibo comes out, we'll play him. It's not like he's going to have haste anyway. We can just use the Sting. That way, we can just make treasure on each of their turn. Well, if we do that on each of their turns, they'll probably go ahead and use them right away. Yeah, we'll just do the Arcane Signet. Then we'll play our commander. I think Sting is going to be better later on, so we'll do that. So untap, upkeep, draw, play the forest, and then we'll play out. I think actually we'll play out the Simian Simulacrum. I think let's get a board out, because if we have a way to untap everything, attack Kibo multiple times, we could probably just profit off by just playing the creatures that we already have. So let's try doing that instead. So untap, upkeep, draw. Mr. Land Drop. That's not fun. That's okay. I think we're fine. We can play the. We gotta play the Realm Walker or Commander. I think we go ahead. Let's just do our Commander. Why not? We missed our land drop, so not much else we can do other than try to catch up. So untap, upkeep, draw. Missed our land drop again. That's okay. I think it's one of those. It's just a tough situation that we're just gonna have to deal with. We can just go ahead. Let's play the Sting. We're already falling behind, so even if our opponents are catching up, maybe they can see that we're in a situation that we can provide them with all the means, just as long as we're giving ourselves ways to come back with it too. So on each turn, on each of their combats, we would make a treasure token. So they would be up 3, but now we're up 3 as well. So untap, upkeep, draw. It's okay. Missed another land. So that one wasn't too good, but wasn't too bad. So let's do one more and see how well that'll come up. Okay, so no lands here. So let's try that again. Mulligan. No green. We have a turn 1 play. No ramp. So long as we get the green mana, I think we'll be fine. I say it's more important to get the green out. We'll mulligan one more time. Okay, I think we can live with this. We'll put back the Gorilla Berserker. Keep this. We'll have something we can play. So we're going to draw for the turn. Play the Temple of Abandon. We'll get to Scry, Command Tower. That's good to see. So draw for turn, Command Tower. We can play Arcane Signet. Go to our next turn. Cast our Commander, Kibo. Oh, no, not trying to tap yet. Play the Gruul Turf. Get the Command Tower back. Then go to our next turn. Play Command Tower again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at 5 mana. Let's play the Silverback Shaman. Then on one of our opponent's end steps, make the banana token, untap, upkeep, draw. We'll have to play the Cinderglade tapped. Then let's see. We can play the Realm Walker, and I think, just because I don't know any better, play the Descent to Avernus just to make problems for everyone. More fun for me anyway. So we can look at the top card of our library. Okay, so we'll go ahead, untap. We have to make a treasure token from Kibo for its tap ability. At the beginning of our upkeep, put 2 descent counters on it. Then each player creates 2 more treasures, and we would take 2 damage. But that's fine. I think we can use that. So let's see. We get to look at the top card. Liquid Metal Coating. At some point, I'm sure someone has played. Has used any of the treasures that we provided them. So with that, we would be able to probably cast the Inspiring Call if we wanted to draw, or just save it and be able to protect our board next turn. So we can just play the Yavimaya, Steel Crusher, or the Furious Tigerilla and just make it from there. So all in all, Besides the second plate test hands, it felt like we were able to do everything on each of our turns, other than missing the land drop for that one. But it still felt pretty good, considering the budget that we had for this deck. All in all, I am excited for it. I hope all of y'all enjoyed this deck tech. I hope you enjoyed me showing you how well the deck can do in a playtest scenario and see what it can do in an actual game. Please keep in mind, again, like I said, the deck total price point was using TCG's players list prices, so it is $61 and some change before tax and shipping. That is using the TCG player link, or you can go into Card Kingdom, whichever site you prefer. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully by the next video I'll have a little bit more energy and not make too many mistakes, but I hope, no matter what, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for your time.